The story begins with Queen Eleanor of Tabor walking in her snowy kingdom. She finds a rose and pricks her finger on its thorns. 3 drops of blood fall on the snow. She prays for a daughter with skin as fair as snow, lips as red as blood, and a heart as strong as a blooming rose in winter. Her wish comes true, and Snow White is born. The little princess wins everyone's heart with her innocence and kindness. Sadly, Queen Eleanor dies when Snow White is still young. King Magnus, grieving his wife's death, is left alone with his daughter. One day, a dark army made of glass attacks the kingdom. Magnus fights back and wins, and rescues a beautiful prisoner named Ravenna. Smitten by her beauty, Magnus marries her the very next day. But Ravenna is not what she seems. On their wedding night, she reveals her dark past, then kills Magnus. She is a powerful sorceress and the creator of the Dark Army. Her brother Finn helps her take over the kingdom. Snow White wakes up to the sound of soldiers storming the castle. She rushes to the king's room and finds him dead, with Ravenna standing over him. Snow White runs, sees William and the Duke trying to escape, but is left behind as the castle gates close. Finn captures her. Ravenna speaks to her magical mirror and commands the people be killed. But seeing potential in Snow White, she locks her in a tower instead. Under Ravenna's cruel rule, the kingdom begins to rot. Meanwhile, Snow White grows up, imprisoned in the tower. One day, a girl named Greta is locked in the cell across from Snow White. Greta is shocked. She thought Snow White was dead. She reveals that Ravenna traps many young girls here. Later, 2 men from the Duke's army meet Ravenna. One tries to assassinate her, but fails. She kills him and spares the other to send a message. Ravenna, growing weaker, steals beauty from young girls. When she asks her mirror who is the fairest, it names Snow White. The mirror tells her that eating Snow White's heart will make her immortal. Ravenna sends Finn to capture her. Snow White hears a bird near her small window. Following its sound, she discovers a loose nail and hides it. When Finn comes with bad intentions, she stabs him with the nail and locks him inside her cell. She tries to rescue Greta, but Greta urges her to run. Snow White escapes. Soldiers spot her, and a soldier from the Duke's side also sees her. Following the bird, she reaches a river and is led to a white horse. She climbs on and rides far away, toward freedom. Finn follows her trail as she enters the mysterious and terrifying dark forest. Snow White's horse gets stuck in a muddy puddle near the forest entrance, so she leaves it behind and runs into the dark forest. The soldiers chasing her also get stuck. Inside, she gets frightened by strange and magical creatures, and eventually faints after one strikes her. Finn returns to Ravenna and tells her Snow White escaped. Ravenna is furious because her magic doesn't work inside the dark forest. She needs someone who knows the forest well to bring Snow White back. White the Huntsman is introduced. He's a broken man who drinks to forget his wife's death. Finn and his men bring him to Ravenna. At first, she offers him gold to track Snow White, but when he refuses, she promises to bring his dead wife back. Believing her, White agrees and leads the soldiers into the forest. White finds Snow White, but overhears Finn talking about Ravenna's true plan. When White demands they first bring back his wife, Finn says it's not possible. Furious, White fights back, defeats the soldiers, and throws Finn into a puddle. He questions Snow White's identity, but she says nothing. He starts to walk away. Snow White stops him and offers gold if he helps her reach the Duke. He agrees to guide her. Meanwhile, a soldier informs the Duke that Snow White is alive. William, upon hearing this, joins Finn's army in disguise to find her. While traveling through the forest, White teaches Snow White how to use a dagger. They soon come across a giant troll. It attacks White, and in a brave move, Snow White distracts it by growling. The troll suddenly calms down when he sees her and walks away peacefully. They exit the dark forest and come across women in boats who take them to their secret village. These women have scarred their faces to avoid Ravenna's wrath. Eric receives first aid there and finds out that the girl he has been protecting is actually Snow White. Feeling she is safe now, Eric leaves the village. But soon, Finn's soldiers arrive and set the village on fire, searching for Snow White. One soldier discovers her hiding among the women. Eric sees the flames, rushes back, and rescues her. The two escape and walk for a long time. Exhausted, they stop to rest, but are suddenly captured by a group of dwarves who hang them upside down. The dwarves have a bitter history with Eric and don't trust him. As the dwarves argue about what to do, Snow White tells them who she is and asks for help to reach the Duke. A blind dwarf named Muir, who can see the future, believes that Snow White is the one destined to defeat Ravenna. Before they can decide anything more, they hear soldiers approaching. The dwarves quickly take Snow White and Eric to a hidden forest, home of the fairies. They spend the day there, remembering the peaceful days of King Magnus's reign. The dwarves sing, and Snow White smiles for the first time in a long while. We also see a flashback of Ravenna's past. She was once attacked by a king's soldiers, and her mother cast a dark spell on her. The spell made her stay young only by stealing the beauty of others. But if another woman more beautiful than her ever appeared, the curse could be broken. Snow White wakes to the sound of birds that once helped her escape. She follows them and finds magical fairies leading her. At the heart of the forest, she meets a glowing white deer, a sacred creature that gives her its blessing. The dwarves now promise to protect her always. But peace doesn't last. A soldier from Finn's side attacks the deer. Eric and Snow White flee, and the deer turns into a swarm of butterflies. Some of the dwarves begin to chase the soldier while the journey continues. Eric sends Snow White with the dwarves and starts fighting Finn. Eric kills Finn, and Ravenna feels the pain, too. William meets Snow White and tells her who he really is. A soldier aims an arrow at Snow White, and a dwarf sacrifices himself to save her. William kills the soldier. Everyone feels sad seeing the dead dwarf, and the dwarfs promise to serve Snow White. They set up camp near a forest. Having no other choice, Ravenna turns into William and gives Snow White a poisonous apple. She eats it and faints. Ravenna is about to take Snow White's heart when Eric and William arrive. As they attack her, Ravenna changes into a raven and flies back to her castle. Everyone is very sad about Snow White and takes her to the Duke's castle. Eric cries near her body and talks about his wife, Sarah. He feels the same guilt for Snow White as he did for his wife. Eric kisses her while grieving and leaves without seeing her tear. Then Snow White comes back to life in front of everyone, shocking them. She inspires them by saying they can defeat Ravenna. They all kneel before her. Snow White leads the army to the castle. Ravenna's soldiers prepare to fight. 6 dwarves enter the castle through the passage Snow White told them about. They fight the soldiers and reach the control system of the doors. The castle attacks Snow White's army with fireballs and arrows. Even so, the army manages to reach the castle gate. The dwarves open the door and the army gets inside. Snow White is surrounded by the army, but she gets through to face Ravenna. William and Eric follow her, killing some soldiers on the way. Ravenna creates a dark army to fight them and heads towards Snow White. Ravenna and Snow White fight, and Snow White struggles to keep up. Ravenna is about to kill her when Snow White uses Eric's trick and stabs her. 3 drops of Ravenna's blood fall on Snow White and her dark army disappears. Ravenna dies badly in front of her mirror. The darkness vanishes with her. In the final scene, people gather happily in the castle. Snow White is now the queen. The movie ends with Snow White smiling at Eric. This movie teaches us that true courage, kindness, and hope can defeat even the darkest evil. It shows that no matter how broken or lost we feel, we all have the power to rise and lead with love and strength. So, if you want its part 2, then comment in the box part 2. And if you enjoyed this magical journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Movie Insight Studio, your favorite place for the most fascinating movie stories. See you in the next tale.